Growing up, my grandpa was always my favorite person. There's something about the way he imparts wisdom through stories while sipping from a glass of Crown Royal that has always captivated me. There's one story that he told me that has always stuck with me, and that's the story of his grandmother, Edith Black. We don't know much about her except that she was from England, and when she was 21, she had a baby out of wedlock. That baby was named May Black, my grandpa's mom, and who I know as Gram. Gram eventually had her last name changed to Wallace when Edith married an American citizen, Byron Wallace. We never knew if he was the biological father. 4 months after they were married, Edith took May to America, but Byron wasn't with them. Times were hard for Edith, and she was forced to place May in an orphanage while she worked up enough money to take care of the both of them. Edith was able to pick up her daughter not long after and live a normal life with her and her new husband until she contracted tuberculosis and died at the age of 30. Gram was 9. Gram went on to live with her new father, and when she grew up, she had my grandpa, who had my mom, and who had me. So here I am, almost the same age as Edith when she had her baby, moved to America, and left behind everything she had ever known. By the time I hit 21, I might have a degree, I'll know how to make a really good margarita, and I could probably take care of a fish if I set a reminder to feed it every day. Every time I hear Edith's story, I'm struck by how brave she must have been to decide to have May and take her to America. I wanted to know more. There were so many gaps in her story, and I wanted to fill them, not only for myself, but for my grandpa. So I went to England. More specifically, I went to Southampton, where Edith was from, to search their records and see what they could tell me about my great-great-grandmother.
So now I am older than my mother and father when they had their daughter. Now what does that say about me?
They didn't tell me a whole lot that I didn't already know. What I did find out was that Edith was one of 8 children. Her father died a couple months before May was born, and my Gram was named after Edith's little sister, Beatrice May Black. No matter how much research I did, I was still left with questions.
So, I wonder if, my grandma, hung out here. I wonder if, her oldest sister was acting as her mom. Why didn't she move back? Were divorces common? So I wonder, if it happens in 1919. Why didn't she call her family? Why didn't she write to her family saying, I need help?
These questions weighed heavy on me as I realized that Edith's story of courage and bravery is one that I will never hear, and one that I will never get to tell my grandpa. While walking around Southampton, I met a local pastor, and he shared with me a time that he had been courageous.
There was a day, we've got 2 birth children, but we also wanted to adopt children. And there was a day when we were offered 2 boys to adopt. And we weren't sure what to do. And we had to make a decision at that moment. And we said we couldn't possibly make a decision without meeting them at all. And so we managed to get an hour in a play centre with these 2 boys. And then the social workers that were with us took us out into the car park and said, right, you've had an hour, now you've got to make a decision. And we realised this was a decision that was going to take over the rest of our lives. And so in that moment, me and my wife, we were just kind of locked up with the kind of enormity of this decision. And we really had to dig deep to find some courage. And we found the courage to say, yes, we would.
Hearing his story made the ache of not being able to find out more about Edith go away. I thought about people I had been spending time with and others I had just passed by, and it hit me that they had stories too. Stories that can soothe and inspire, and I wanted to know them. In the wake of not being able to find out Edith's story, I went to London searching for other people's stories of courage.
Now, who came out first?
Graham did.
Graham came out his sophomore year in high school. Yeah, and I didn't come out until at least 2 years later. Because I came out to my friends first in like October, the first semester of my sophomore year. And then when and then when I came out to my parents, actually my mom basically did it. My mom like instigated the whole thing. It was so I like came home from my French horn lesson, and then she was all like, "So are you struggling like with your sexuality?" And I was like, "Oh,
so don't play any
fuck no! Like,
so no one can touch you.
no, you're not asking me this question right now." And I was like, "Well,
And then he was
I mean,
I was like, well, can
guess I'm bisexual right now." And she was like, "Okay." I mean, like, you don't need to put labels on it. And then like I got home, and then my dad was there, and my mom was like, "Do you have anything to tell your dad?" And I was like, you can't do this to me. And then I literally was like, "You tell him." And then my dad, and then my mom goes, "So Graham came out." And like my dad was like, "Finally." Well, he came out as bisexual, but let's be real.
Watched the morning show and
I came out second semester, or first semester sophomore year, and of high school,
or whatever.
and then Logan came out not until after senior year.
Is that
Which is really interesting actually, because
But, so maybe he
we
was,
like
like,
live
really
this whole like
straightforward,
straight gay thing,
Just no
which is like
bullshit.
really interesting. That's when I was like, wow, and I pretty much knew at that point, but that I was gay. But
only because
that's when I really, that was a real pressure point. I was like, wow, now I have to be the straight twin. And that was really, that put a huge pressure on me throughout all of high school pretty much. And I felt that way, and I shouldn't have felt this way because I'm stupid. Like, I felt that way because, like, my parents, even though they're so amazing, they're so accepting of me and Graham, and I saw that with Graham, and I saw that they were accepting, but for some reason I still thought, wow, I have to be the one that, like, yeah, that produces, that, like, I feel like I had to, like, marry a woman, like, have a child with a woman to, like, kind of, like, continue, like, the real, like, bloodline or whatever. Senior of high school, it got really, it was pretty bad. Like, I would think about all of these feelings all the time, and then 4 days of it. It just, one day I couldn't do it anymore. So end of second semester, I was like, I really need this to happen now, because it's just gonna blow up if I don't, and it's just gonna continue to get worse. And if I don't just do this now, then what is my life gonna be? I don't want to live a lie anymore, because it's just stupid. Yeah, that was probably the moment when I decided that I needed to just forget everything, forget what was telling me no, and just say yes to life. And that's it. That's kind of like cheesy, but still. Yeah, when I came out the day before I graduated from school to my best friend, and then I started telling a lot of other people right after I graduated, and that was really liberating and really, oh god, I don't even know. It was, yeah, I guess there's really no words for it. It's just, it's a great moment. It was a great moment in my life to be able to find that liberation and finally truly not lie to myself and not lie to other people anymore. It's just, it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work to hide all of that from myself and from other people, and it's just, it's really no way to live, especially when you're thinking about it like basically 24/7. when it comes out, it's just there's a flow, and it's just everything just goes, and everything starts rolling along, and you finally start to find yourself. And it's a long journey, and it's pretty much a lifelong journey, but I'm on my way at least. So.
It was a summer and bright side, walking on a pebble beach. We had no shoes on. You swept me off my dirty feet, threw my kiss to the day.
So I grew up in West Sussex with my brother, who's a comedian and a drummer and an English teacher and a pixie at weekends, children's entertainer. And my mum, who's an opera singer, and my dad's a piano tuner, and my stepdad's a drummer, so all very musical, you know, I was bound to do something musical. When I was 14, I got quite ill and had to give up all the dancing and the gymnastics and everything, and then was kind of ill at home for a good, 5-6 years, so bedbound and everything, wheelchair, all that stuff. So then I kind of discovered the songwriting when I was well enough, and the singing. Singing is what I would do, when I had any energy to do something, I'd put music on, and that would really help lift my spirits or whatever, and songwrite. So, and then when I was getting better, I was singing more and more, and kind of just as I was getting stronger, I was able to obviously do more. The thing that made me a lot better was a therapy called the Lightning Process, which I did in 2008 or 9. And it's neuro-linguistic programming, so it's all to do with brain waves and the way you think and use language and your posture and all these different things. It takes 3 days to explain it, so I can't explain it, but that really, really helped. It was done at a place called the Swallows Retreat, so I got these little bad boys. And that helped more than anything else, really. So, and then, it was just a case of increasing my stamina, which I'm still working on, and, I can now live a pretty normal life, but just got a really rubbish immune system, catch colds all the time, which isn't good when you're trying to sing. I think there's a constant fear of, with the ME, the illness, there's a thing that if you do too much, you get worse. So if you do really overdo it, you do get quite ill. And if you overdid it that much, you can take steps backwards. So that's a constant fear. But if you live in that fear, you almost are going to bring that on yourself to that happening. So you have to kind of keep positive and that's not going to happen, and try and just live as normally as you can. But obviously you do have to be sensible and not go mad, because then you will go backwards. But I think that's a fear, and my dream was always to make a living out of my music, and I kind of am now, but I'm doing wedding gigs and function work. But even that is that I'm making a living out of singing, which is a dream in itself. So I'm kind of living my dream. Obviously it's not the dream, but there's always a fear of, if I don't make it, if I don't become as successful as I want to with my writing and with my singing and stuff, that's a fear.
Just hold me, baby, and I'll be in ecstasy. I'll be working from 9 to 5 to buy you things, to keep you by my side. I've never felt so in love before.
It's so hard because it's just nothing's promised, and you're going into something where there's 1,000 of you. So how are you different? How can you do something that's going to stand out, but still be a part of a group? So I just think being an actor is just it's scary, but I think it's thrilling because I don't know where I'm going to go, but I'm going to try, and I'm going to see what happens. My first audition was for the School of Theater at FSU. Yeah, and I was so nervous coming up to Tallahassee, because I had visited a couple of years prior with my brother, and I saw I looked it up. I did it all by myself. I did it all by myself. I looked it up and I found out they had like these January auditions, and I was like, you know what? Like, I was too afraid to do it in high school. I'm not, you know, if I don't get it, you know, fine, but I'm at least gonna try and do it, and you know, whatever happens, happens. And you know, my parents and I went up, and I remember, you know, I prepared 2 monologues. One was like a really kind of wacky Marx Brothers-esque kind of a funny monologue, and the other one was about this kid who was talking about his dad and how he killed himself. And I'll never forget it. I mean, I go in and I do my funny one first, and you know, there's Deb, who's my teacher now, and there's a student next to her who's timing. And I do the you know, the Marx Brothers one, the funny one first, and that's like, the total was supposed to be 4 minutes, and that was like 2.5 minutes. So I'm already running over, and I just immediately go into the serious one, and I'm standing. I go in the serious one, and like I get like not even like 30 seconds into it, and the girl just says like, you know, that's time. And I was like, in my head I was like, well, you know, I tried, whatever. And I start to walk out, and Deb's like, wait a second, come back here. And she's like, take a chair and sit down, and I want you to do the second one over again. And I did it, and I just remember just at the end, it's like, you know, it was like a huge rush of adrenaline, nervousness, whatever, and I just kind of, you know, I did it a certain way, and I just remember looking up at Deb and the timer girl, and the girl was crying. I was like, shit, that can't be good. And I mean, I was bawling. Like, I was like, you know, I'm not saying that's good acting is crying, but I just, you know, just the whole situation, I was just like overwhelmed. And just Deb looked at me and goes, you know, thank you. And you know, I left. And I remember going to the bathroom and just like sobbing even more, you know, like a belly sob. And I walked back out, and I walked towards my dad and mom, and like, I guess like he thought like I totally bombed, because like I was just pale, and I was like, you know, like I guess my eyes were red from crying. And he was like, so how'd it go? You know, he was kind of like afraid to ask. And I was like, you know, I honestly didn't know how it went. And I you know, it was like in 30 minutes to an hour for like the callback sheet. My name was on it. And I went back to the callback, and I did the same monologue for them. And you know, they asked me questions after, like what I did, and you know, it seemed like a pretty good response from everyone in the room. And you know, because I didn't have the scores. I'm an awful test taker, and I mean, I had like A's and B's in my classes throughout high school, but when it came to the SAT and the ACT, I literally just I couldn't like stop shaking throughout the whole thing. I had to like, you know, just leave the room because I was like so nervous, and like I literally I couldn't take the test. And I was like, you know, fuck, I'm not gonna get into school because I don't have these grades. And I got a call like 2 months after, and this is like after when I found out I didn't get into the school itself, FSU, the university, and I was like, you know, I was really bummed, and I was like, oh well, I guess I'm going to TCC, which isn't a bad thing, but to me it was like the end of the world then. And I got a call from Michelle Diamante, who's an advisor, and I'll never forget it. I was in like my room, and I got a call on my cell phone, and I was just like, you know, are you kidding me? Like, is this kind of sick joke? She's like, no, it's not a sick joke. You're accepted. And I was like, wait, what about like, you know, my other things? What about my test scores? You know, I fucking bombed that stuff. And she's like, you know what? Well, you know, we made an exception. And I was just like, I remember I was like, wait, can you just hang on a second? I put the phone down, and I ran outside with my 2 dogs and just like ran around in circles, like screaming at the top of my lungs. And I went back inside, and I was like, so you're sure you're not kidding with me, right? And she's like, no. She's like, no, I'm not kidding.
My time collecting stories in England came to an end much faster than I thought it would. Now it was my turn to tell the story that started it all. I found a census record. Yeah, they're pretty reliable, I'd say. I found a census from 1911, and it's Edith's family. So her dad is John S. Black, and her mom is Sarah Jane Black, and then these are all of her brothers and sisters. She's one of 8 children.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and she is the middle of the middle child, so she is the 4th born, and then there are 4 more after her.
Oh, wow.
And they're all girls except for one boy.
And he's the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
This
Yeah.
is amazing. This is amazing.
Oh, just listen.
You are fantastic, my darling. Oh my goodness.
This is just one document.
Wait till the rest of my family sees this. Oh God. I don't know what to do now. Wow. Holy criminy. We better all plan to go back to London. I can't believe this. Ah, God.
If you look, one of the younger sisters, her
May.
name is May Black.
May Black.
And so Edith, I'm guessing, got her daughter's name from May. May was alive for a couple of months, and then her grandfather died. So he got to see her for a while. So that's all I found, is that she's one of 8 children.
You did wonderful.
Did good?
You did good.
Good.
You did good.